Это мир Авито, где теперь появилась оценка стоимости авто. И мы с сыном быстро нашли авто по цене ниже рынка и можем больше времени провести вместе. Сосиска. Авито сравнивает цены на похожее авто в моем регионе. Они смотрят на модель, пробег, год выпуска и многое другое.
Авито. Покупайте автомобили по отличной цене.
Hello, Tim. How are you? Finally, we get a chance to speak with you, and thank you very much for your time. So you can introduce your book and yourself and your method. What do you think?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you guys to be able to talk about my new book, Frictionless: Closing and Negotiating with Purpose, and help everybody in the car business as much as they can get better and start making more money and have better, more exceptional experiences for our customers.
Thanks, Tim. Well, you know that we are, this is a very special effort. We're putting together a library specifically for car dealers, which will cover different aspects, sales, service, F&I, marketing. And your book is going to go first because car sales starts from what? They start from car sales. You know, before you can service the car, you got to sell it.
Right.
So your book is going to go first, and you're going to go first as one of our key authors. So let me ask you a few questions. The first question would be probably very logical. How did you end up in car business? How did you end up in this great but weird sort of business?
By accident. I never grew up saying when I grow up, I want to be a car salesperson. Never crossed my mind. But, you know, my dream was always to be a Major League Baseball player, professional baseball player. I knew I was going to be a professional baseball player, played in college, and got to a certain point where I realized, kept getting hurt. I wasn't going to make it to the big leagues. I could have played minor league baseball and for almost no money at all to chase my dream. But I was smart enough to realize that I needed to find a new dream and chase it. And I had a buddy at a dealership that talked me into selling cars for him. I was actually, when I was playing baseball, it was a summer league. They get you a job, and my job was washing cars. And then you play baseball at night. And I'm washing cars for guys making $100,000 or more a year. And I have buddies playing professional baseball at that time making $1,000 a month. So it was a pretty simple decision. I never planned to stay in it. It was just something I was going to do until I found something better. And the beauty of the car business, when it gets in your blood, and if you're good at it, and if you embrace it, and you love competition, and you love people, you can't get out of it. It's kind of like the mafia. Once you're in, you can't get out.
But another question that because you were in sport, it must have given you some sort of a sense of leadership. Is there something like that? I mean, what kind of leader are you? Can you just say about yourself? It's okay.
Yeah.
How do you see yourself as a leader?
I think when it comes to leadership in sports and in sales, there's top-down leadership, right? You got dealer, general manager, general sales managers leading. You're a leader of leaders or a leader of followers, right? You're either leading other managers or you're leading salespeople. But I believe that as much as any leadership, lateral leadership, or as I call it, locker room leadership, is just as valuable. The other players on the team holding everybody accountable. Everybody competing against each other to want to be the best in a friendly competition way. Rooting everybody on to be great, yet at the same time, challenging yourself because you want to be number one. And leadership is, I'm writing a book on it right now. You know, this book was called Frictionless. My new one that'll come out in January is going to be Fearless. And it's all about how to lead and manage unbreakable teams. Because if nothing else, the pandemic and recessions prove how good of a leader you really are. And I think leaders, the best leaders, there's a lot of qualities, but they're willing to take the first arrow. They're willing to say, you know, I'm not real good at this. This is new to me, but we're going to learn together. And we're going to mess up, but every time we mess up, that's going to be stepping stones to success because we're going to learn from our failures. Like they say baseball's a game of failures. If you fail 7 out of 10 times when you're hitting, that you do a really good job in baseball. I don't really believe it's a game of failures. It's a game of adjustments. It's the same thing in sales. You're not going to close everybody, but it's a game of adjustments. How can you get better with the next customer that's going to walk on the lot? And it's having that mindset of what are we going to do to grow? Having vision. Where's the industry moving to? You know, when it comes to hockey, Wayne Gretzky famously said that good players skate to where the puck is. Great players skate to where the puck's going to be. So are we skating? Are we just following the puck, trying to catch up with it? Or are we skating to where the puck's going to be? Meaning, do we have that vision? Do we say, okay, this is the evolution of the business. Let's make sure we're feeding the beast now, closing deals, paying the bills. But let's also look at where is our industry going and what can we do to evolve and be there when that change happens so we can lead the pack and not follow the pack.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. And I can certainly, I certainly, this is the first time we get a chance to talk like that. And this is now I can certainly better relate to how your involvement with sports and your goals in sports sort of, I was wrong when I said that you gave up on your dream. You actually brought your dream and the main drivers of that dream into your profession, and you still are actually holding on to those values that I actually had an honor of reading your book, and I know that throughout your book you make references to not giving up, keeping on going, reevaluating your goals, reevaluating your approach. So this is certainly something that comes from sport. Okay, Tim, let's get a little bit closer to what you do. We saw your videos. We know you work with some major dealers, and you are one of the leading sales educators of sort in the United States. Tell us a little bit about your customers. Which dealer groups do you work with? Major dealer groups, smaller dealer groups? Who are your customers? Who would you make a reference to?
Well, we have on my Kintz Now platform, which is my online training platform that has hundreds of videos, YouTube style videos, 2 to 7 minutes long, basically from everything from your attitude all the way to closing, to management, leadership, games, contests, stuff like that. We've got a couple hundred dealerships in the US and Canada and Puerto Rico actually that are on that platform. So they're actively training with our stuff, with our processes, procedures, with the skills. And then we have a group of dealerships that we go into. We have like Paddock Chevrolet, one of the top 10, 15 Chevrolet stores in the nation. Fred Bean's Auto Group is another big one we work with. He's got 24 dealerships or so up in the Northeast. I work with the Sewell family of dealerships.
Those are the ones who are famous for the CSI,
yes, that is his uncle for that. Absolutely. Colin
Sewell Cadillac. It's like the number one. It's like there's nobody like them. The customers who buy from them, they just don't go anywhere else, from what I hear.
Customers for life. That was Carl Sewell's book. And Colin Sewell, Carl is Colin's uncle. So Colin has his own group of dealerships. And he's got unbelievable Ford dealership out in Odessa, Texas. It's a Taj Mahal. It's $65 million dealership. They're selling 500, 600, 700 cars a month in a town of, right now, with oil prices being down, 70,000 people. It could jump up to as high as 115,000 people in Odessa, Texas. But they're selling 500, 600, 700 a month every single month because they've created that loyalty with customers, and they have a team of professionals. And Colin Sewell is one of the greatest leaders I've ever been around. And I'm really excited to get back out there tomorrow. And we're going to be doing some training for a couple days and get their guys fired back up and get them back to the basics and making sure we're maximizing every opportunity. So as far as dealer groups, man, I've got them coast to coast in the U.S., Canada, Murray Auto Group, and we're staying busy. It's the biggest challenge is having enough time to get there to help them out. And I also do open seminars. where people can come from multiple dealerships, and we'll have 2-day workshops on management or on sales, desking, working deals. So there's different specific open workshops that I actually do too. And I try to have fun with them. We do them at a thing called Top Golf. And during lunch, we all get to hit golf balls instead of sitting in a hotel by a conference room, and everybody gets to have fun, and we hang out after class and hit golf balls and have some competitions and win some prizes and stuff. So look, I think that's so important for us to have in dealerships. How much fun can people be having? When you're having fun, you're not working at all.
I heard this saying once that in order to make a lot of money, you have to do something that you are willing to do for free. Yeah. I heard that, and it kind of stuck in my head. And it's actually very interesting that you, I noticed, I didn't know that you work with Sewell Group. And that actually brings me to the next question. It's actually very interesting to hear it, because I started in business in sales in late 80s, very late 80s, early 90s. And those were the days when it was a matter of getting the customer to lay down, making $4,000 or $5,000 a car, bury them in the car. There was a special bunch of slang words that just to describe how happy salespeople are to make money. Now, still learning yourself.
The old saying is, when you're green, you're growing, and when you're ripe, you're rotten. If we're not willing to adapt and adjust and evolve, then we become like the dinosaurs. Similar to you, I started selling cars in 1990, and how we sold it then and how we sell it now, there's some similarities, but there's also a lot of things that have changed and evolved. Hell, I worked for a training company that for 13 years, we trained the same exact thing. Quite frankly, they still train exact same process that they did 30 years ago when I first saw them when I got in the car business. And I think the best thing that ever happened to me was when I left that company and didn't just do hotel training. I went in and ran a Ford store for a year. And I realized that the one-size-fits-all training mindset doesn't work in today's world. Every market is a little different. Every dealership is a little different. And I figure out, how can I fit my process into their dealership, not the dealership changing everything they do to fit mine. It's so many vendors, so many trainers want you to fit your peg into their hole instead of them doing the opposite. I don't think that there's only one way to do it, right? And I don't think you stick to what you were doing, because things are changing so fast now, evolution and technology. And if you can't learn, if you're not in a dealership and working shoulder to shoulder with them, then you don't know how technology is affecting the business. You don't understand the customer's level of education. I mean, quite frankly, this thing right here, smartphone, this thing was the game changer. This leveled the playing field for the customers. And unfortunately, for some of us, the customer is better at buying than we are at selling, because they have that information at their fingertips. And I believe in today's world and the evolution of business, we have to be better than we ever were because of the customer's level of education. The customers come in armed with invoices, and they've already figured out payments and trade values, and they have ideas of interest rates. How are we equipped to be able to handle that and be professional at the same time? Because customers' expectations of us is even higher. Customers have more choices. You know, in the US, every dealership in the country is a click away from buying a car. I can buy from anybody, and we have non-traditional competition that's coming after us. It's not just the dealership down the street anymore. Now our competition is, we got Carvana popping up. Wait till Amazon decides they want to start selling cars, right? And how are we going to deliver such an exceptional experience that when the customer has other options, they're not going to take those because they're loyal to us and we earn that loyalty. Loyalty is not given, loyalty is earned. And it comes down to the experience we're giving every single customer.
Tim, it's interesting what you just said, and I'm making some notes. And what you said actually goes to the very deep sort of psychological concept. You are absolutely correct. 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, or even 15 years ago, in order to figure out the price, the customer would have to ride around some dealerships, at least look through a bunch of newspapers and make some phone calls. Now they can get on the internet, on one side, on another side, on some aggregator, on some cars.com or some other online tool where they can see 90% of everything which is in all states.
Yep.
And the dealers are a lot more competitive. Let's put it plain and simple. Is there money? Can the money be made?
Yes.
How? If the customer knows, if the customer comes in to buy a car, knowing what the car cost or what the trade and shoot cost, what the new car invoice is, how do you make money?
So it's a complicated question, right? It's not just one magic bullet or silver bullet answer. It's understanding, to me, it's three parts, is looking at lead generation, lead conversion, and lead management. Okay, so lead generation is how are we generating our leads? Are we falling into the trap of the race to the bottom mentality? And I have to have the best price because all people buy is price? Well, then you're going to have a hard time surviving. And is price important? Yes, it's absolutely important to customers. But I can promise you this, if I do a good job of that customer, if I interrupt that pattern, and when customers come in, instead of trying to sell them a car right away, I interrupt that pattern by making it about them, making it about their car. Walk around that customer's trade-in if they have a trade-in, or what they're currently driving, whether they're trading in it or not. You may not take a lot of trade-ins. I'm still going to walk around it and ask them questions. What's most important to you on your next vehicle you didn't have on this one? What did you like about it that you want on your next vehicle? What type of driving are you doing? What type of research have you done? Open-ended questions, get the customer talking. And what's amazing is you can turn that customer into a salesperson. That customer will start selling you on everything you need to do to sell them. Instead of just jumping in trying to sell a car and finding out what they want to spend and how much down they have and what they want their payments to be, it's slow the process down a little bit, ask the right questions, find out what's important to that customer. And then my job as a salesperson is to get a customer to take mental ownership of my vehicle before they'll ever take physical or financial ownership. That's the reality. I have to paint that vehicle into the customer's life to the point that they can't imagine not owning that vehicle.
So basically, just let me sort of rephrase it or confirm what I understand. You believe that the way to make money and the way to actually build the loyalty of the customer is take the customer a little bit out of the sphere you came here to buy a car. You are making it more, a little bit, I shouldn't say less about the car, but just as much about the customer as it is about the car. Am I correct? Am I hearing it correct? Okay.
Absolutely. Everything so often, and I just went through this in a dealership I was at last week. When we try to evolve the processes and change processes, we tend to think from our point of view out. And when we do that, we make processes that make us comfortable. Well, unfortunately, that's not making the customer comfortable. We need to think of where that customer's coming from and then work our way out, right? Well, that's not how I've always done it. I don't care. That's not how you've done it. It's time to break the rules, right? Well, that's not how, it's the way mentality that we have. Well, that's just the way we've done it. No, it has to be customer centered and make it about them and what's important to them. People, it's the old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That customer has to know that you care about them. And it's a noisy world out there when it comes to the car business. There's insane amount of marketing and retargeting ads on the internet and cookies that will follow you everywhere you go. If you look at a car, and dealerships are everywhere advertising. How are you creating distinction? See, that's the question. How are you creating distinction in a noisy market? And that's what's important to us. And how do we do that? Part of that is the lead generation. Are we doing the right lead generation, or are we just chumming the waters and just throwing a bunch of bait out in the waters trying to create activity? There's entirely too many good ways to target buyers with artificial intelligence marketing and everything that goes along with that. So then we can make sure that we're focusing on the right group of customers. Some of us have hundreds of thousands of people, or thousands anyway, of customers in our database. In the US, we spend on average about $600 per buyer in advertising to sell a car. Whenever I ask a dealer, well, what do you spend to retain a customer after you sell it? Well, they don't have an idea of that number because they don't really spend any money to retain people. We're spending all of our time going to try to generate new customers when we've got them right underneath our nose and we're doing nothing to take care of them. Love the one you're with. You know, it's concierge service. Are you picking their car up and delivering it to them when it needs service, and having them be able to pay like Amazon right through texting on their phone? Or do they have to go wait 2 hours at a dealership to get an oil change? You know, that's how do I think from the mind of the customer? What would I want if I were in their shoes? And when you can deliver that experience and generate good leads, convert them when they show up and sell them, and then manage them properly and keep your dealership sticky, keep that customer coming back, man, that's when it's easier to grow your business. That's when you're going to make more money. The first time you sell somebody is always the hardest deal with the lowest gross. The second, third, and fourth time is when you start making money. No, there's a lot there, obviously, to unpack. We could talk for days on all the areas.
Yeah, of course.
I think creating distinction is challenging at times. I think the car business, we're really good at imitating, not creating distinction. We imitate. We try to either imitate what they're doing. Well, they had a sale on this, so we're going to do the same sale, but we're going to give them $500 extra. Well, the customers, that just becomes white noise. And you're just an imitator, and they end up to the dealership closest to them. Or we try to beat them with price, but there's no extra value there. Look, people will pay more if they're working with the right salespeople, with the right company that's going to take care of them long term. We don't buy stuff on Amazon because it's the cheapest. Why do we buy stuff on Amazon? Because it's most convenient, right? And it's quick, it's efficient. I get options, and it's designed to make it easy for me to buy stuff. And to create distinction is, what can you do different from everybody else without a race to the bottom and having the cheapest price? What are you going to do to stand separate? It could be things like your sales process is customer centered, and it's quick and efficient. Time is people's number one commodity. People have attention spans of a gnat. And it's critical that our selling process doesn't take 3, 4, 5 hours to buy a freaking car, right? That drives people nuts. It's just the speeding the velocity of the deal up without shortcutting steps of the sale. It's a hard thing to do, but it can be done with the right training and the right leadership. But it comes down to, how do I speed the velocity up? How can I make it quicker and efficient for my customers? Distinction could be that after the sale, we have concierge service. So we know your time's valuable. We do pick your car up. We do deliver your car. We make it seamless for you and frictionless for you, basically ownership at that point. But we have to create that distinction in every dealership. What are you going to do that nobody else does? But I think the challenge kind of ties into both questions you had, was making sure we follow through on our promises. You can throw all kinds of promises out there. And I've seen, in this pandemic, all these dealerships in the US, home delivery, we'll deliver to your house. And then the experience was a freaking nightmare because they didn't train on it. Everybody wasn't on the same page. And it just became more promises that were not fulfilled by dealerships.
Interesting, especially that dealers don't hold promises. I didn't realize it's that widespread, to be honest with you, but that's okay.
But we look at it as just a hook to get them in the door or to get their digital inquiry. instead of the purpose that we have to be able to make sure we deliver on it, right? We just see it as, hey, whatever we got to say to get them in the door, we'll sell them a car, then we'll worry about finding the next customer to sell them another car. We won't worry about the experience that customer had. It's, and the future of our business is retention, not added on. Does that make sense?
Это мир Авито, где теперь появилась оценка стоимости авто. Она показывает авто по ценам ниже рыночных. Сэкономлю процентов 15 минимум.
Ого!
Авито сравнивает цены на похожие авто в моем регионе. Они смотрят на модель, год выпуска, пробег и многое другое.
Авито. Покупайте автомобили по отличной цене.
Let me ask you a question, and this is actually something that many people who knew that I will be interviewing, they wanted to ask him that. So this is not my question. This is sort of a question of the entire automotive community. Tell us in the most details possible. I mean, whatever details you want to share with us. Some of your business case that, I don't know which one you would want to use, but something that where you came in, you added some training, knowledge, technology, whatever that was. And how much time did it take? How much did it cost? And what was the outcome?
Well,
can you tell us something like that?
Yeah, I won't give you their exact dealership name just because they don't want the financial side of it put out there. But it was a big domestic store. They contacted me, reached out to me, wanting to, they needed a process in sales. They needed help. They sold roughly, it was like 336 cars in January of 2018. And
that's not that little. 300 cars a month?
New. Yeah, new cars.
That's not that little. Okay.
No, that's pretty good. The volume was there. They were selling over 300 cars a month. Yeah. Unfortunately, when they sold 300, I think it was 36 cars, they made $58,000 in gross. Okay, do the math. That's not real good. Maybe $100. Majority of the deals, they lost money on the front end. Now, they were getting money from the factory. They were getting dealer cash back, but net, after they paid all their employees and everything, they were losing money in the sales department. And the dealer contacted me. They needed a process. And we sat down, talked about it on what they needed to do. And I always, if I'm going to go into a dealership, basically I look at it this way. My name's going on it. Kintz is on this. And I need to know your level of commitment. Okay, because I'm not coming in here if you're not committed. If you want to put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, I'm not your guy, because then you're going to blame me for something not succeeding when technically it was top down. It was management down, wasn't committed to doing it. It's like if you sit down and eat breakfast and you've got bacon and eggs on your plate. Who's more committed to that breakfast, the chicken or the pig? Chicken just donated an egg. That pig's all in, baby. He can't back out. I only want to deal with people that are the pig, that are all in, committed to doing this. So they were committed. So we started out working with their management team, because I can fix players all I want, but if I don't have good coaches, then it doesn't matter. The players will never realize their potential. So we worked with the management team. We taught them how to train. We taught them how to do one-on-ones. We put together the selling process, because everything that my process didn't 100% plug in, because they had different situations. They had inventory off-site. They had two separate buildings. So we had to adapt and adjust it. And we put it in place. The dealer made sure every manager was doing their daily one-on-ones. Training was happening regularly. It wasn't an option. I went back in there for the first, I believe it was first 3 months, every month for 3 days. Then I went every other month for the rest of the year. And in year 2 is quarterly. So every 3 months, because it's got to be weighted early to be able to change behavior, change habits. That's the whole thing.
I'm sorry, I want to interrupt you. So that was for about the entire period was about a year. Am I hearing you?
It's a 2-year agreement is what I signed on with them.
So that particular dealer, the benchmark is 2 years.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what the majority of mine are, because We have to break old habits, create new habits. And we have to, during that same time, we have to change the culture of a dealership. We have to, in this store, we had to change their mindset. His thing, he said to me before he brought me on, he said, look, here's my fear. I don't want to bring you in here and you screw up my volume because you say we're going to start holding more gross. I want to be one of the top 10 dealerships still in the nation. So don't come in here and screw up my volume. So, okay, well, do what I tell you and I won't mess up your volume. Volume is vanity, gross is sanity, right? As a manager, volume is our job. Gross determines how well we do it. And 1 year into this, and it was, you know, sometimes we could speed up our training. Most of the time we had to slow it down because I don't want to move on to another topic until we have that current topic learned, till we've mastered it. 1 year into it, they were up almost $4 million in gross profit year over year, which was the highest gross they'd ever had. And every one of their managers made 5-figure income higher. So they made a lot more money, each manager did, and every salesperson except for 2 made more money than they did the previous year. And I'm still not convinced those 2 didn't make more money. There was just some different circumstances. But my point, and they've got 25 plus salespeople.
Hold on, Tim. This is very important. So let me just make sure that I get this right. 1 year into a 2-year deal, their gross profit annual gross profit increased by $4 million.
Yes.
And the
it was just under 4 million.
Just okay, so 3.5.
Yeah,
good.
A lot. How's that?
Okay.
A lot.
Okay. So close to $4 million in a gross profit increase, annual gross profit, and the average increase in the salary or commission salary for the managers was in 5 figures. Am I?
5 figures.
How about the salespeople?
And every one of them, except for 2, their income went up. And the variance, obviously, with 20 plus 25 salespeople, you know, some it was huge, and some of it. But the bottom line is they all grew. And
wait! I'm not done. How about the volume? Did that drop?
They last month had their best month ever. And their market share,
the answer is that did not drop. It actually,
and their market share went up. They sold 388 cars last month, new cars. That's not used.
So that's
and
about
the market share has increased.
It's about 15% increase in new car sales. At the same time, gross went up by $4 million.
And this is during the pandemic that their market share is still going up and their volume's going up.
Oh, wait a minute. So this is their first year into this. They're not even at the end of the second.
They're into the second year now.
Oh, so they still. Do you believe they still have room to grow?
Hell yeah.
Oh.
Hell yeah. Otherwise, they don't need me.
Oh. Okay.
But my goal, though, literally, and people say I'm blowing smoke, but my goal is after 2 years, I don't need to be there. That's why I come back every quarter the second year. I don't need to be there every month if you're doing your job. If you're implementing the stuff and doing it, the goal is to me be able to walk away and now have me come back in every now and then, you know, for that extra shot of adrenaline to keep them going and stuff, train new people. And here's what they were so good at. I always tell them that change isn't going to happen when I'm there for 3 days. Okay, that's not when change happens. Change happens on those 30 days between visits. It's what you do when I'm not there is what's going to make a difference and make this stuff work. I just left another Chevy store last week, and I'll be back there in a week and a half. And they have very strict stuff that they have to be working on between now and then, because if they don't get those things accomplished, we can't move forward, and it slows the whole speed of progression and profits, and it hurts the culture. So it's that 30 days. It's their discipline. It's the managers, middle management's discipline to do the right things, even when I'm not there, that's going to make the difference. And that's my job, is to teach the managers, lead the leaders how to lead.
Tim, I want to ask you a question. Just give me a quick answer to this question.
I can't do quick answers.
Well, just give
I
me.
talk too much. No, I'm just kidding.
No, actually, I love what you say. It's actually a lot more interesting than I expected. It really is. I'm learning. I've been in car business probably just as long as you did, for a little over 30 years, and I'm still learning.
Yep.
And key questions. People want to see results. In 2 years, we say, oh man, this Tim Kintz has got great 4 million, but it's 2 years and the first results showing 1. When do they see some result? Let's say they get you in. When do they see something? Anything?
So my belief is I always want to give wins. I believe winning is a habit, losing is a habit. And we need to be able to give the salespeople early wins. So we go after the things that have the least amount of pain, that can have the biggest increase. So I want to get wins right away.
Tim, I have 2 questions left. And those are questions that I prepared because I knew this will be important. The first question is this. There are plenty of books on sales. I mean, this guy is writing about car sales. This guy is writing about this car sales. There's tons of them. And I'm not saying they're all bad. Some of them are good. But your book is one of the best sellers. I mean, among all of them, it's probably the most highly valuable sales guide. Why is that?
Because it's relevant and real and not theory. My mindset, I mean, I believe, look, any book you read, it may not be a great book, but you're going to learn something from it. And if you don't learn something from it, you just didn't have an open mind, right? Every book out there has a nugget or two that you can pull out. I come from a side of empathy with salespeople, right? I think sometimes we become managers and we forget how hard it is as a salesperson. And my whole mindset is to talk with them, not at them. To come from a position of, I know how hard it is, and I want to give you the real world applications and tools that you need to be able to succeed. And, you know, with training, it's not like Christmas tree lights. You know, Christmas tree lights, you plug them in and all the lights come on at once. It's not how training is. I plug those lights in and every one of the salespeople's lights come on at different times. And everything in this book, I'm not the most educated guy. I'm not an MBA. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a writer. Well, I am a car guy though. And I love competing and I love competition. And I love lateral leadership and helping the guys around me better. My philosophy is I never want to be the smartest guy in the room because that means I'm not learning and I'm not growing. And I also believe that if everybody's thinking alike, then nobody's thinking. And we all need to think out of the box. And that's what I try to do in here. Some things stretch their mind. Some things talk about worst case scenarios that happen and give them solutions. But bottom line, everything that I try to cover in here is to be solutions oriented and not problems focused. Right? There's so many people that are problems focused and they talk about the problem. And I always tell them, if all you do is talk about the problem, then you are the problem. If you have no solution to the problem, then get over it. It's the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change and change the things I can. And the last part that most people never, that's not on that cute little card is, and the wisdom to know the difference. If you can't affect it, then stop worrying about it and move on to something that you can. And that's the approach I take throughout the entire book. And it's talking with them and not at them. I'm not better than them. I fail too. So what? Let's fail together. And that's how we learn together.
Tim, that's a great answer. I actually totally relate to what you said. And the last question. This is a very specific question. And it's a very important question. Today we are talking about your book, Frictionless. Show that book. We have one. I had one, but that's the book. That's the book.
Looks a little different in the Russian version, but.
Well, we tried to make it as close as possible, but the words didn't fit. You gave us a permission to move it sideways.
Absolutely. Looks great. I love it. Looks great. We actually had that design initially. We were looking at that version, that same style. Originally.
Yeah, it's the way the Russian language is, so you can't break it in 3. We had an language expert, which I'm not, but she told us, so you can't break it in 3. You have to make it like that. So anyway, but here's a very important, specific, and a rather technical question. The book Frictionless, it's going to come out as the first series of the book specifically for Auto Dealers Library.
Mhm.
Who should read this book? Should that be the owner of the dealership? Should that be the sales manager? Should that be a salesperson? Who should read that book?
Yes, all the above. Anybody in sales should read this book. It's not an option. I have a ton of dealerships. They'll buy them for every one of their salespeople and managers, and they'll do training every week on a different chapter. Everybody's got to understand understand the philosophy, the flow of a deal, and the solutions together. I can't manage you. If I'm a coach of a football team, I don't have a different playbook than my players. We all have the same playbook. So if I'm touching that sales floor or sales department, I need to know this book and read this book. Otherwise, how can you lead people if you aren't actually talking the same language that they're leading, right? Or that they're talking. It's the same thing. It makes it a challenge. So anybody, and quite frankly, I have a lot of people outside the car business that read it. Now they have to change a little bit. Car business is unique when it comes to closing and negotiating, but the principles, the golden rules to negotiating, they apply to any industry, right? Whoever cares least about a deal wins. It's one of the golden rules. Well, I need to get a customer to want to buy my car, my house, my watch, my furniture more than I want to sell it to them. Doesn't mean you don't want to sell it to them, but that means I did a hell of a job painting that product into their life. It's the same thing. Doesn't matter if it's a car or a couch. Removable objections, putting things in a negotiation that you can take out. That when I negotiate, I'm adding things. If I go buy a house, I'm going to tell them I want a painting allowance and I want a fence allowance and I want them to pay closing fees. I don't care about all those, but I can give them up and still get the price I want, right? It's having built-in victories. Doesn't matter what the industry is. If it's sales, it applies. So I believe everybody in the dealership needs to read it. Maybe not the accountant.
Tim, first of all, I wanted to thank you most sincerely. Thank you so much for your time. And this is, it's not just coming from me, but we are very grateful and honored to be able to present your book in Russia. And we're not hoping, we believe, we firmly believe that it will bring great knowledge and great experience from the best of the best, which is what we think who you are. And I just want you to, there's one great sentence, and I think I remember it like almost, but could you just say it yourself, that the car sales can be the, how do you say there, the top, say that, top paying.
Yeah, selling cars can be the easiest high-paying job you ever had, or it's going to be the hardest low-paying job you ever had. It just comes down to your skills and your commitment to the business. It's just that simple. There's no tricks, no gimmicks, no magic dust. It comes down to you and your dedication.
So it's the easiest, highest paying job or the hardest, lowest paying
job. That's right.
Thank you, Tim.
This is great. The hours you put in the car business is crazy. So you might as well make some money doing it.
No doubt. Well, that goes probably for any job, but for car sales more than anything else. Tim, thank you very much for your time. We are grateful to have you on board with our library, and from the entire Russian automotive community, I bring my sincere regards and thank you for your help and time.
My pleasure, and I can't wait till we can get these damn borders opened up so I can get over there.
Это мир Авито, где теперь появилась оценка стоимости авто. И мы с сыном быстро нашли авто по цене ниже рынка и можем больше времени провести вместе. Сосиска. Авито сравнивает цены на похожее авто в моем регионе. Они смотрят на модель, пробег, год выпуска и многое другое.
Авито. Покупайте автомобили по отличной цене.